very top of the Zefet, that already has the status of the esophagus. Therefore, if it has to be whole, it already is. So where is it the root of the Zefet? The spot that is pulled along with a soft, or even a little hole, makes it a. Then the Mishnah said, one of the things that it's not a treif on a bird is if the intestines come out. Yatsu b'nei me'eha, if the intestines came out, below nikvu, without a hole in them. Amr Reb Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak said, Lo shana, we didn't say that if the intestines come out, it's still kosher. Elash lo hipich ben, that when he put them back in, he didn't overturn them. He didn't put them in the wrong way. Aval hipich ben, but if when he put them back in, he overturned them, so what had been on top was now below, and what was below is now on top, that is a treifa, because the pasuk says in the song of Shiras Ha'azinu, Hu ascha v'yechoneneka, he made you and he set you. What does it mean he set you? God has created all sorts of bases, settings in a person. Everything is based on a foundation. So the stomach is on the foundation of the intestine, which is itself on the foundation of the pelvis. And therefore, if one of those foundations are overturned, one of those bases are turned over, it can't serve as a foundation, and cannot live. So if the intestines were pushed back, but the bottom one's on top and the top one's on the bottom, it cannot live. Everything okay? Okay. Tanya. So we are towards the bottom here of Nun Vav Amud Beis. Tanya went to the Brisa. Hey, Rabbi Meir used to say on the verse, right, as we just said, Hu ascha v'yechoneneka. It's really referring to the Jewish nation. He made you and he set you. That means kiraka tekula bey. That means the Jewish people are like a krach. They are like a large city that everything is in it. So in a large city, you have everything. You have shoemakers, you have tailors, you have leaders, you have military men, you have security experts. Well, that's the way it is with the Jewish people. Imenu Kohanov, from the nation you have Kohanim, Imenu Neviah, from it you have its prophets, Imenu Sarah, from it you have its leaders, Imenu Malacha, from its kings. We don't need to bring any foundations, any bases from other places. As it says, Mimenu Pina, Mimenu Yaseh, from him is the corner, from him is the foundation, the rest of the pasuk, from him is the arch of war, from him will go out all those together. So the Jewish people, they have everything from within themselves. He made you and he established you. You have all the foundations that you need for everything. Heard a story. There was this Roman. The Chazilahu Gavri saw a man. The Nafal Migula Ara. He saw a man fall from the roof to the floor. What happened to this man? Nebuch Paka Karse. His stomach broke open, and Venafuk Ma'ayane, and his intestines fell out. So now we just have a new halacha. The halacha is when you want to push intestines back, you can't push them out of order. You can't have what had been below now on top, and what had been on top now below, because Hashem set it up with the right type of bases. They have to go back in the right spotting. So now, how's he going to get everything back in? He wanted to heal this guy. So Asil Abrei. So what did this Roman do? He brought the son of the victim. This is Roman medicine. The Shachta Kamei. And he slaughtered the son in front of the guy who fell off the roof. The guy fell off the roof. The Roman brought the son of the guy who fell off the roof, and he slaughtered him. But not really. It was really just a magic trick. He made it look like he slaughtered him. So making him look like you slaughtered him, that would sort of frighten him so that the intestines would fall back into the right spot. And then Vietnach. And then he... so, 1 second. Ingad. So this guy was so upset, the fellow who had fallen, he was about to die. Vietnach, and he sighed. Olamayane. So because of all the fright, the intestines were able to go back into their spot in the stomach, and then v'chaitu l'krasei. Then he sewed up the stomach, and in that way he was able to heal him. Okay. Going back to the Mishnah listed all sorts of wounds in birds that do not make the bird into a treifa. One of them was the legs being broken. There was this basket filled with birds that had broken legs. The Rava came in front of Rava. So Rava checked with the Somet is the crossroads. He checked with the junction. He checked at the Gidim junction. He checked at the spot within the leg that's filled with all these sinews, and that was okay. It was beneath it that was broken. Therefore he made it all kosher. Okay. Now going on to wings. Rav Yehuda is the name of Rav. Shmutas yad. If the front hand is totally dislodged from the bird, first of an animal, the behemoth an animal, ksher would be kosher. However, in another law, shmutas yarech ba'ov treifa. But if the thigh of a bird was totally detached, it would be a treifa. Shmutas gaf ba'ov, and if the wing of the bird was entirely detached from, let's say, the shoulder, then it is a treifa. Because we're worried that if that were to happen, shema nikva hareya, maybe there's now a hole in the lung, and a hole in the lung would make it into a treifa. Shmuel said that if that front wing bone was detached, tibadik. So you shech the bird, you just have to check the lung, but not necessarily that it's a treifa. Rabbi Yochanan also said tibadik, just check the lungs. And now the Gemara has a very interesting discussion whether birds even have a lung. Strange. Why don't you just check? All right. Chizkiya said, "Ein reya la'of." There's no such thing as a lung for a bird. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Yeshlo." No, birds have lungs. V'yeshna ke'ala shalveret, and it looks like the leaf of the rose. In other words, it's thin and it's red, and it is ben akapayim. It's between the two wings in the rib cage. So Gemara now asks, what does the mean? My ein real oaf. What is the saying when he says there's no lung to a bird? Less like klal. Birds don't have lungs. We can show. We see the bird has. It's breathing. We see it has lungs. Alice, what did he mean? What he meant was to lo mitrif bay. There's no law of lung for the bird. There's no treifa of lung in a bird. We saw all these laws of treifos with lungs, holes, membranes, sirchos. That doesn't exist in birds. That's only in animals, not in birds. Is that what he's saying? We're going to ask 1 second. Well, Tani Levi taught us a brisa. All the different treifos that are listed about an animal. The first mission of our parak, 18 different treifos. Connected ba'of. All of those, if they were to be in a bird, would also make the bird a treifa. Yasser alein ov. Now, bird is even more than that. In the nishbara etzem, if the bone breaks, afal pi shelo, the bone breaks. This is what we saw yesterday. The skull breaks of the bird through the weasel. Af pi shelo nikav krum shel moach. Even if the membrane surrounding the brain was not punctured, it's also a treifa. Now we said it. That's referring to aqua birds that have a very soft membrane. But that's even more than an animal. So you see that whatever is in an animal is in a bird. Animals have lots of trephos in lungs. That means birds also have trephos in lungs. How could Chizkiah say there's no lung for a bird? Ella, so what does it mean when he said that there's no lung in a bird? Ein lo, he doesn't have the law of a treifa in the lung of a bird, lonely napel. In terms of the question of a fall, if there was a big fall from a roof to the floor, you don't need to check the lung of the bird. Lo lechamer, nor if the bird fell into fire, you don't need to check the lung of the bird to make sure that its appearance hasn't changed, even though you have to check, as we saw yesterday, the heart, the liver, the korkavan. You wouldn't have to check the lungs of the bird. But in terms of a hole in the lungs, yes, that would be a treifa. So my time, so why if the bird falls on the roof or a bird falls into a fire, you don't need to be worried about anything? Rav Chana explained, because the bird has so many bones in its rib cage. So since it has so many bones, and they're different than the bones of an animal, the bones of an animal, they're thinner than the bones of the bird. And so since the bones are so protecting it, even if it falls, the lungs are going to be okay.
The wings would help it to stay, but it flutter the wings would fall so hard.
That's also true,
Well, they
right?
fall more because they fly.
So the many ribs are what protects it. So asks the Gemara, but since Rabbi Yochanan said Yeshlo, that a bird has a lung, he said, and that lung is red like the leaf of the rose, and it's between the wings. That's not, Chizkiah is not saying that the bird doesn't have the law of lung, it's saying that Chizkiah holds the bird doesn't have a lung, and Rabbi Yochanan is telling him, no, there is a lung. Ella, rather, they say in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei Rabbi Yosef Rechanina, name Rabbi Yosef Rechanina, Midvar of Shel Rabbi, from the words of the great one, from Chizkiah, who was the Gadol Ador, Nikar, we see She'eno Baki B'Tarnagolim. He didn't know really the realities of birds. Amazing. He didn't eat birds. He didn't eat like chicken. So he only used to eat meat. And he didn't know that birds have lungs. And he said this. He said, birds don't have lungs. Amazing. Amazing. He never went out to check it out. Amazing. That's what the Gemara says. The Gadol Ador, Rabbi Chisda, he wasn't an expert in birds. He didn't know chicken.
So they have or they don't have?
He thought they don't have, but we know that they do have. The Gemara is saying he thought they don't have, but we know that they have. We know that they have. We know that they do have lungs. He didn't know chicken. He didn't know the laws of birds. All right, now a new halacha talking again about dislocated limbs. If the thigh of a bird is dislodged, it's kosher. Rabbi the son of Rav Huna said to Rav Huna, I have Rabbana doesn't mean Pumbedisa Amri, but the rabbis who came from Pumbedisa said, Rav Yehuda Mishmei de Rav Amar, Rav Yehuda said the name of Rav, Shmutas Yerech, if the thigh is dislodged, Ba'of, in a bird, Treifa to Treifa, Amar Leis, Rav Huna said back to his son, Rabba, Re, my son, Nara, Naro, Pashte. Each river has its own way of flowing. Some rivers flow fast, other rivers flow slow. Okay, and therefore I think it's kosher. And the people in Pumbedisa, they think it's not kosher. All right. Different approaches. Azar Reb Abba. In other words, he's saying that really Rav just didn't allow it, but Rav held it was kosher. So I'm telling you it's kosher, and the people of Pumbedisa, they made a mistake. They thought that because Rav didn't allow it, so that Rav held it was awesome. They're saying in the name of Rav that it's awesome, but it's really not awesome. In different rivers, they have their different approaches. All right, a story. Azal Reb Abba went. Ashkel Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, he met Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba to Kabadik B'tzoma Tagidim. He used to check at the junction of all the sinews to make sure that it was whole. As he saw before, that if that's whole, even if it's broken, if the bone is broken underneath it, it's still kosher. So Amar Leis, Rav Abba said to Rav Yirmiyah, Lamalei Lamar Kuli Hai, why do you have to work so hard? For Rav Huna Amar Rav Huna used to say in the name of Rav, Shmutas Yarech B'ov Ksheira, that if the entire thigh is dislodged, it's kosher. The whole thigh came off as kosher. So what are you checking down here? To make sure that that's not cut. The whole thing could be off. Amar Leis, Rav Yirmiyah said back, I know, a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Behema shenechtacha ragleha," the animal whose foot is cut, min arkuv l'mata, beneath the knee, sheira it's kasher. Min arkuv l'mala, above the knee, it's psula. And then it says, "V'chein shenitzal tzomas hagidin." And if the junction of all the sinews is taken out, it is a treifa. It's a treifa, even though the thigh is there. Rav said about it, "V'chein ba'of." The same is true with the bird. If the tzoman hagidin is taken out, it's a treifa. So that's why I'm checking the tzoman hagidin. Because if the tzoman hagidin was taken out, it becomes a treifa. So Gemara said, "One second, yachi kashi to Rav or the Rav." So now we have a contradiction in Rav, because Rav says the whole thigh can be taken off and it's okay. But now you're saying if just the junction of all the sinews is taken out, it's no good. So Ishtaki was quiet. Amalei, Sir Abba said back to Rabbi Yirmiyah, Dilma, maybe Shanile, maybe Rabbi has a difference between Shmuta l'chatucha. Maybe there's a difference between the thigh being dislodged and the Tzomon HaGidim being cut. Being cut. Cutting is different than dislodging. If it's cut, just cutting the Tzomon HaGidim is a treifa, but dislodging, the whole thing is not a treifa. Amalei, so he said to him, Va'at, Mefarshat, Shmaitze de Rav. And you think you're explaining the Rav? You think you had to give this explanation to figure out the contradiction in Rav's opinion? Beferish Amar Rav. Rav said this explicitly. Shmuta Ksheira. If the thigh is dislodged, it's kosher. Chatucha, but when things are cut, it's different. And therefore, if just the Tzomon HaGidin is cut, it's possible. Val Titman, you say, well, that makes no sense. If the whole thing is off, it's kosher. So just a part of it is cut, it's not kosher? Yes, because that's in general, you can't compare the laws of treifos to each other. Think about the neck. You cut it from this side, amongst the pipes, it's dead. You go move up to the cheek and you cut it. You can cut it over here, it'd still be alive. So you see that, in treifos, it's not your logic. It works differently. And therefore, there's a difference between nechtecha and nishmita. If it's dislodged, it'd be kosher. Nechtecha, if it's cut, it would be treifa. Yeah, question?
So, Rabbi, I thought we learned earlier, many blats ago, that if the foot was broken, it would be treifa. But it seems...
We said it depends where it's broken.
Okay. Like toes?
No, I thought it was above the knees. The problem beneath the knees, okay.
But, okay. But I thought we learned Almog a long time ago that certain places in Israel had a problem with chickens were being thrown around and broken legs.
This is this issue. It's Tzomon HaGidim.
That's exactly the Tzomon. How did you translate it?
I'm calling it the junction of the sinews.
So it's not. So the problem is not the broken bone; it's severed sinew.
Dislocation versus.
So you can have a broken bone, but the sinew is still intact and it's okay.
But Rabbi, it says that when the leg is disconnected, it still is kosher?
Yeah.
For chickens,
Yeah.
not for animals.
I
think we'll see for animals too.
Kosher manual last weekend because they have the new one.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 levels. When they do kasher, they do a sample check.
Okay.
They just take 1 out of.
They don't check all the birds for Tzomon HaGidim.
Kasher is just a sample.
I think that's the difference between badat. I think badat
There's 3
checks
levels.
Tzomon HaGidim.
Kasher is a sample check. Kasher lamandrin is they actually check each one, but they don't open it. They just feel it. And kasher lamandrin is they actually open the leg of each chicken.
To make sure that Tzomon HaGidim is not severed.
Technically, only sample check is required. There's no reutat.
Right, there's shoving below.
Okay, Kisalak Reb Abba. When Reb Abba went up to Eretz Yisrael, Ashkechil Reb Zera, he met Reb Zera, who had also moved from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. The Yosef Akami, he was sitting and saying, Amar Rav Huna Marab, Rav Huna is the name of Rav, Shmutas Yarech Ba'ov Treifa. If the thigh in the bird was dislodged, it is a treifa. Amar Le, Sir Abba said to Reb Zera, Chai Demar, by the life of my master, from the day that you moved to here from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. Now turn to the Zayin and Beis. Havon Lan Pischon Peh. Made Rav Huna. We had to speak about these laws of the thigh being dislodged in front of Rav Huna. We asked him, what's the halacha? He said, like to us, Shmutas Yarech Ba'of Ksheira. If the thigh is dislodged in a bird, it's kosher. Now I'm with Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, and I once met Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, the Yosef of Kabadik with Tzomid Agidim. He was sitting and checking the junction of the sinews. Actually, and I asked him, don't you agree to the lesson of the name of Rav, that if the whole thigh was dislodged in the bird, it's kosher? So what are you worried about these sinews for? If they're cut, he said to me, the same thing we said before, I only know a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, an animal, if its foot is cut beneath the knee, it's kosher. Above the knee, it's possible. And the same is true if the junction of sinews was removed. And Rav said about that both, a bird is the same. That if the tzomid agidim was taken or is cut, it's possible. So then I said, but then Rav makes no sense. So Rav is a contradiction. He says you can take off the whole side and it's not a treifa, but if you take off just the sinews, it is a treifa. It doesn't make sense. So Ishtik, so Rav Yirmiyah was quiet. So then Rav Yirmiyah said, he challenged, then he asked Rav Yirmiyah, he said, maybe Rav makes a difference between something being dislodged and something being cut. That if it's dislodged, it's kosher, but cut, it's not kosher. Amar Alis, Rabbi Yirmiyah said, you think you're explaining Rav? You had to resolve a question. Rav explicitly said exactly that point. Shmuta kshera, if the thigh is dislodged, it's kosher. Chatucha psula, but if the junction of sinews is cut, it's pasul. V'atna b'yadcha, and you know, what do you have? What have you have? Did you hear anything since you came to Eretz Yisrael? Right, this was the question to Reb Zera. So Reb Zera answered, this is what Reb Chia bar Ashi said in the name of Rav Shmutas Yarech B'ov Treifa. I heard that if the thigh was dislodged, it's a treifa. Rav Yaakov bar Yidi, Rav Yochanan, Shmutas Yarech B'ov is a treifa. If the thigh is dislodged, it's a treifa. Rav Yaakov bar Yidi, and Rav Yaakov bar Yidi said, Ilmali have a Rav Yochanan ba'asra, da'ori b'chav rasal ha'teira. Had Rabbi Yochanan been in that place where the rabbis are saying that it's mutter, lo parkis, he wouldn't have even moved his wing. In other words, there were so many who were saying that it was kosher, he would have not even been able to protest even a little bit because it was overwhelming. As we've said, Amar Chanina, Amar Rabbi. Chanina said in the name of Rabbi, Shmutas Yarech B'ov Ksheira, that if the thigh is dislodged in the bird, it's kosher, not like the views who say it's a treifa. And in fact, for Tarnagola, Reb Chanina had a chicken whose thigh was dislodged. They brought it in front of Rebbe, and Rebbe permitted it to him. Reb Chanina salted it. And he used to use with it, he used to pass it to the kids. He said, listen, see this? Like this is mutter. Rebbe. This is what Rebbe permitted for me. Rebbe. This is what Rebbe permitted for me. However, even though there's so many who did permit the thigh that's dislodged in a bird, halachas not like them. Ela kiha, but rather the halachas like this. To show Rabbi Yossi ben Horai, yes, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yossi ben Horai asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Kederas kana. Let's say you have the trachea, and you're missing from it kediras kana. Something was drilled out of it. You're missing from it like a little window of space that was cut out of it. The kama. How big does that window have to be in the trachea to make the trachea a treifa? Amar lo, Shimon Levi said to Rabbi Yossi, Mishnah Shlema Shanin. Well, that's a complete Mishnah. We said ad kisar italki. There could be a hole, and it'll still be kosher up until the Italian isar. But more than the Italian isar is going to be a treifa. Amar lo, so Rabbi Yossi said back to Shimon Levi, Valo Rachel achas ha'isa b'shchuna seina. We had a sheep in our neighborhood. Sheniktar kana shala, that the trachea got drilled with a hole. Vasula krumin shel kana, and they made a whole surgery. They made a piece of kana that was wide, and they covered up the hole. And it lived. So Shimon Levi said, about this, on this you're relying to make it permitted. We know that there's a very well-known halacha, and that's why we quoted this story. Sheshmutas yarech ba'of treifa, that if the thigh bone of the bird is dislodged, it is a treifa. And even so, Tarnagola says Reb Shimon Chalafta. There was a chicken for Reb Shimon Chalafta. Shenishmita yarech shala, that its thigh bone got dislodged. And they made a rod of a reed in order to support it. And it recovered. So, 1 second. How can everybody pass that it's a treifa and can recover? And the Ma'aseh Chol, what are you going to tell me? They recovered, but it was only within 12 months. They didn't really recover. They recovered for, let's say, 3 months. Then it was slaughtered. We don't know if it would have lived for the full 12 months. Al-Hanami, this story also with the surgery over the trachea was only toch 12 chodesh, and therefore it's still a treifa. And that's in fact the halacha. The halacha is that nitla nishmita yarech is in fact treifa. So then you don't have a problem. What about Tzom Agidim? Okay, this is also a treifa. Not a problem. Okay, Amru Alav al Rabbi Shimon Chalafta. They said a story. They said about this man, Rabbi Shimon Chalafta. Sha'aska midvarim haya. He was involved with matters. He wanted to see things for himself. He wanted to test things. He used to do something to disprove the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda used to say, Nitla notza psula, in our Mishnah. If all that thin feather, that's literally like the skin of the bird, is removed, then the bird is a treifa. So what did he do? Tarnagola says Reb Shimon Chalafta, Shanitla notza shala. Reb Shimon Chalafta had chicken, that all this thin feather was removed. So what did he do? He used to do he was asking midvarm. He used to do all sorts of experiments. Enicha betanu, he put it into an oven because it didn't have feathers. It didn't have like its coat, so it was cold. So he put it in the oven to keep it warm. V'tala Allah b'maklish shel tarsim, and he wrapped it with this rag of the coppersmiths. So it had a lot of pieces of copper in it, which also added to the warmth.
Is it live chicken?
Yeah, the gidla knafayim. And it regrew its feathers. The latter group was more than the first group. So it seemed to be proving Rabbi Yehuda wrong. It's not a treifa that's going to die. You can heal it.
So if I warm up my head, my hair comes out?
Maybe.
Put it in the oven.
If you take off your hair and the head and then leave it in the oven, it'll still be okay and it'll come back.
Put on a leather jacket.
Let's go.
With a leather jacket with some copper pieces in it.
Let us
Just
know
1
how it
second.
goes. Try it.
Dilma kasav Rabbi Yehuda treifa mishabachas. Maybe it's not a contradiction to Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda holds that even though it was a treifa, it could then regrow to being better than it was before. In Cain, Gemara says if that's so, so even if you're going to say that it being a treifa is going to make it grow better, it's not going to grow better on that limb that it's a treifa about. Maybe it's something else. And here, the very thing that's making it a treifa, namely the small feathers, it grew back better, so that must be that it's not like Rabbi Yehuda. All right. My ask him what does it mean that he used to always like to make experiments and see things for himself? So the answer is he made an experiment with the ants. Rashashi explained. What did Shimon Chalafta do? The pasuk says in Mishlei Leichel Lemala Tzel Reid Rachev Achakam Asher Ein Lakatzin V'Shoter Moshel and Yetzachin B'Kaitz Lachama. Go to the ant, you lazy one. It doesn't have any ruler telling her what to do, and yet it works so hard. It prepares so much food for later. So Amar Shimon Chalafta said, "Let me go check it out." Ezel, I'm going to go. Echsi It's really true. It has no king telling it what to do. So Azabut Kufas Tammuz, he went during the summer, when it was very, very hot, in the summer solstice, during July, and Parse Liglime Akina Dishum Shamine. And he put his garment on top of a nest of ants, because it was very hot. So now it was a little bit cooler. So one of them went out, one of the ants went out, and it saw the garment. So Atnach Beis Simana, and Rabbi Shimon put in it a sign. He put on it some type of, put some paint on this ant. What happened? Oh, Amalahu, the ant went back and told all the other ants, and told them, Nafal Tula. All right, I found a place with shade. So Nafkavasi, so all the ants came out to try to be under the shade. So all the ants got under the shade, and then Dalia Laglime. And then Shimon Chalafta pulled away the garment. Nafal Shimsha. So now there was a lot of sun. So now Shimon Chalafta figured the other ants should be angry with this ant that got them to come, because now they were coming for the shade, and now it turns out that there's sun. And in fact, that's what happened. Naflu Aleva Katle. All the other ants fell on this ant and they killed him. So Amar, so he said, Shmamina Laslu Malka. So you see that in fact the pasuk is right. The ants don't have a leader. Yes, because if they have a king, Harmona de Malka Loli Boy, wouldn't they first needed to ask permission from the king to kill this ant? The fact that they killed him right away shows that there was no king, and the pasuk is right.
No trial.
No trial. Amalei Rav Acha Brei Rav Ashi, so Rav Acha the son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, what was the proof? The Dilma Malka Ba'adayu. Maybe one of those ants that was angry that had been deceived was the king ant, and he was saying, "Let's go get him." And there are rules there guiding them. There is a king saying go, and they listen to the king. Maybe the ant was with them, and they asked the ant's permission, the king's permission. Or maybe the king died, and there was no new king now, so that's what they were able to kill now. But generally, there is a king. As the verse says, by in those days there was no king amongst the Jews, and then Isha Yashar Bein Aviyasa, then each person was doing what was right in his eyes. So bottom line is, you can't make experiments to try to prove the Psukim in Mishlei right. Rely on the loyalty of Shlomo Melech. Rely on Shlomo's reliability. Shlomo was the wisest of all men. He knew that it was in fact that the ants don't have a king, so the ants don't have a king. He says that, so that's already enough. Okay, Amar Rav Huna said, similar treifa, a sign when you have a situation of Safek treifa, is Shnei Masar Chodesh, it's 12 months. And if it lives for 12 months, and you know it's not a Safek treifa, it's not a treifa. Meisrael Chanju, we learned, similar treifa, a sign that it's a treifa, about Safek treifa, is called Sheni Yoledes. Is that if it doesn't give birth. If it does give birth, you know it's not a treifa. Shimon Gamliel says, if it keeps getting stronger and better, then you know it's kosher. Misnavna, if it's getting weaker, then you know it's a treifa. Rabbi says, similar treifa, sign of a treifa, is shloshim yom, if it lives for 30 days. They said to Rabbi, so you see that many of them live for 2 or 3 years. How could you say that even less is already a treifa? So the Gemara explains, Tanai, it's actually all a machlokas Tanai. The Tanai is went to the Brisa. Ubul in regards to a skull, as long as there is, if it has one long hole in it, then it wouldn't be considered the skull of a person anymore, and it wouldn't create tumas ohel. And even if it has lots of little holes, as we've seen before, it's star from the mlo they can combine to the size of the drill. There was a story in this place. There was a person who had a hole in his skull, and they made for him a piece, some type of a helmet out of a piece of dry gourd. And he lived. He was able to live. So you see, Rav Shimon Elazar said to Rabbi Yossi, Shamrai, is that a proof? That was during the summer. Once he got into the winter, he did die. Rav Yaakov said, halacha is treifa. Halacha is that a treifa yoledes Umashbacha. So even though it's a treifa, it could still keep on getting better, and it can still give birth, and it still would remain a treifa. Oh, we don't have a minion. Okay, let's go to the Shiva minion.